You can support this show on patreon.com/wandering the aisles. That's patreon.com/wandering the aisles.
I was chuckling at the idea, and I don't care if this sounds terrible. I'm a comic. I'm also a human, but I was chuckling at the idea of watching white people march to the city to like fucking get attacked by police. You know what I mean? Like it was funny to me, dude. It was just like, wow, I'm like giving them water and like cheering them on to like get their ass beat for us. For us. Yeah. You know, it was just a funny thought. But I also, you know, all jokes aside, like I appreciate anyone who shows up, man.
Welcome to Wandering the Aisles. I'm Andy Farnsworth. These are impulse buys with commentary from Earth's most interesting regular people, happenings out in the world, spontaneous conversational films. Except not today. If you're tuning in for the first time, this sounds a lot more like a segment on All Things Considered than it is a typical Wandering the Aisles. Well, like one with some cussing and some fun, some recklessness. There's stuff that would have gotten beeped if this were NPR. Let's not kid ourselves. I used to work for National Public Radio. Not even close. Anyway, I digress. It's not the typical show format, but this week is it's a happening of sorts, I guess. It's a phone call, which is the thing that happened. There's no cutaways or monologues or musical interludes or random stand-up clips or audio of me yelling at someone in the Wendy's drive-thru. There's no speculation about why there's so much dust on that bottle of Manischewitz in the grocery store on the bottom shelf. It's just a mostly unedited conversation with New York City comic, writer, person in recovery, Drew Dowdey. He is at Drew Dowdey on IG and Twitter. His writing's available on the link in his IG bio. And it's a great piece he wrote for Medium it's an alternative ending to Beauty and the Beast. I'll just leave it there. So check it. He's one of those guys, he's as funny on Instagram as he is in real life. We don't all translate to Instagram, but Drew does. We have a mutual comic friend, Alip Patel, who you may know from an early episode of this show. He's kind of responsible for this show happening in a lot of ways. Alip was like my earliest producer. He's the one that came up with the name for the original version of this show, which was What's Your Yarn Worth with Andy Farnsworth. But Alip connected me with Drew, and I'm super grateful because it just felt wrong not to give a person of color center stage this week. And I was scrambling, so I had to juggle things in the pipeline to bring you this stuff. I have this conversation, and then I have another one with an amazing conversation with a Methodist minister, which you guys are... Maybe doesn't sound exciting, but if I were going to go to church again, I would go to this guy's church, I'll tell you that. So that's going to be coming out here in just a little bit. Well, I mean, last week's episode, Elon Stribling, he's a black guy. He's my buddy from last week. Go listen to that, by the way. That was a great show. He's fantastic. But this week, what I was going to air on Wednesday was a show... Well, it was a fun one. It was two white guys going to a Sprouts. And obviously, that is not a morally wrong thing. Maybe, arguably, that's wrong. I'm no Methodist minister, but that is not what the world needs right now, I'm guessing. And I mean, it's not me listening to a person of color, and that's what needs to happen right now. Even this is too much. I'm talking way too much right now. But I do need to set this up. I edited out, like I was saying, I edited out some of the setup and like long pauses and logistical stuff in the conversation. But you will be happy to know I left in all the revealing shit about me. that I definitely should have cut. I made a joke that was just dumb and off and tone deaf at one point, and I mean, as a comic, it hurts to hear what a huge whiff it is. And then just a regular guy, it is hard to hear how not as advanced as I think I was. And me and Drew talk about that. Drew's not, he's not a shaming person. He is an extremely empathetic, funny, centered, self-aware dude. And so I couldn't have had a better guest this week to kind of hold my hand and also admonish me and you guys, because most of you are white. I'm just guessing. I don't know y'all, but I look at the numbers and I see where you're tuning in from. And yeah, I'm just taking a stab. Maybe not. This is not about me right now. And what that means is I got to be willing to just fuck up and try to keep conversation going. And when I'm talking and I screw up, and I just got to own it and stay open and listen and don't try to be defensive. This is a raw conversation between two comics who we didn't know each other before this. One black guy, one white guy, one from Normal, Illinois, one from Brooklyn, New York. But here's Drew Dowdey. I'm excited for you to hear this.
Hello?
Hey, Drew.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you sound good, man. You sound crystal clear.
Good, man. Yeah, you do too. Are you recording right now?
Yeah, is that okay? Right now I'm just getting levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's cool.
If you say something you're like, I don't want that, or even if you want like a cut of what I end up cutting, I'm happy to give it to you, and you can tell me if you're good with it. But
okay, yeah, that sounds cool, man. Because I'm always I generally don't like doing podcasts because I always feel like whenever you do a podcast, I feel like you get stuck in the time.
Yeah.
Like people judge you by, it's like I may say something crazy. And I may have said something crazy on a podcast in like 2012. And to whoever's listening, I'm that guy from 2012.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's, the secret to that is just to have one, and you keep doing it every week. So you keep trying to make up for that thing you said in 2012. That's that's my whole life. I think I said something in 2012. I think you might be on it. Like it was... Dude, I feel like I'm running from shit I said all the time. I mean, you're a comic.
Yeah, I'm a comic.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that weird thing of needing to be heard and also being like, yeah, but no, not that. Hold on.
That's true. That's true. And also, I guess if you do it every week, people get to judge you by episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
if I were in New York with you, I'd go to a grocery store with you, or like a bodega, or something.
Oh, that's dope.
A lot of them I did in Prospect Park.
Oh, did you live in Park Slope?
I lived on the other side. I lived in Flatbush.
Okay. Because I live in Park Slope. I go to Prospect Park all the time, especially now during this pandemic. And both pandemics.
Right?
Got COVID and racism right now. Yeah, and he told me, I love the name of this podcast. I love it. It's one of those where Alip told me, and I was like, interesting. Because when he first told me about it, I was like, nah, I don't really want to do it. When he mentioned it to me, I was like, nah, I don't really want to do it because I was thinking of the whole 2012 thing.
What happened in 2012? Do you want to get into it?
It wasn't 2012, but I was like, when I was doing podcast, I'm just not the same person I was when I first started doing comedy.
Oh, yeah. I know.
So, yeah. And like, I wasn't the same person I was yesterday either, you know?
Yeah, I do.
So, I guess it's probably my control issues, just trying to control people's perception of me. It's probably more that than anything else.
That's interesting that you say that, because I've been really wondering. A lot of times I'll have people on, well, especially comics, they rarely want to listen to what they said. Like they're like, no, just put it out there, and I'll trust you because it's painful.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's so funny you said that, because I've never listened to any podcast that I've been on, and I have a podcast, and I've recorded 5 or 6 episodes, and I've never listened to one of them.
Yeah,
not one. But it's so funny, man, because I remember I was seeing this, and here's my paranoia, right? This is where my paranoia comes from. It always, like, I'll be hanging out with a girl. She finds out I'm a comedian or I did stand up, and then, fucking Google's like, you can find anything. If giving someone your last name is like giving them your social security number nowadays.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's like you gotta protect your last name and your social security number. So I was like we were laying in bed and we were watching something on the television, and I like reached for her phone and she like bugged out and snatched it out of my hand. I was like, yo, that's weird. But this is what it was. I was like, oh, you listen to podcasts, and we started talking about podcasts. So I like grabbed her phone to see what podcast she listens to, and she snatched the phone out of my hand, dude.
Why?
And it wasn't until I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't up until 2 years later where we were now friends, and we weren't hooking up at all. She's still a close friend now, where she admitted to me she didn't want me to look at her podcast because she was listening to the episodes that I was on.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, she's fucking CIA agent over here.
They do their research, man.
Yeah, they do, man. They do.
But I mean, isn't that kind of flattering on some level, though? Like, it's nice that she wanted to know you.
I'm laying in bed right next to her. She knows me. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It's a weird parallel universe we have with like ourselves outside of the internet and ourselves on the internet.
Yeah, and I mean comics especially too, because there's like a public and a private. Not to be too like. I don't know. Yeah, we all have kind of the part of ourselves we want people to see, and then the one, like, especially with someone you're tight with, or like, I mean, if you're sleeping with, like, I don't know, people think they know me because if they listen to the show, because I have hours and hours and hours of shows out there and stuff on whatever with my stand-up, and it's like, well, it's kind of me, but it's kind of not. I'm a lot less funny, and I'm way more sensitive, and you can hurt my feelings way more easy if you're
on the podcast.
No, in real, I mean,
real life,
if you've seen me naked,
yeah, that's a great way to say it. That's a great way to say it, because we're all putting on like 5 layers of clothes to go outside so no one sees us naked. You know what I mean? That's like what it feels like. And I'm the type of person, like, I'm gonna just, one of the reasons why I was like, I don't like listening to my podcast because, I'm an alcoholic, right? So I've been in and out of the 12-step rooms for a while, and when I first started doing comedy, it aligned with the same time where I was first going into 12-step programs. And I found myself, I learned how to be funny in the 12-step rooms because I heard people being honest, and they were there'd be like a plumber talking about his life story.
Yeah.
And he'd be killing, murdering.
Yeah.
No punchlines.
Yeah.
There's no punchlines. He's just all truth.
Yeah.
And then I had like an epiphany. I was like, oh, I got to start working on being honest, and then, like all comics that I like have had that moment at a certain point. And that was my moment. And so when I started doing podcasts, I started oversharing, but I felt like I was doing it too early because as I was sharing, I was also processing a lot, like unpacking things from my past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Yeah, we have some similar history, man. Yeah.
Oh, are you?
I'm sober. Did Alan tell you that?
Okay.
That I've been sober for
No, he did
8
not.
years? Yeah. I do the...
Word?
I do the deal. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Congratulations. You're hitting up the Zoom?
I am,
Zoom,
and
Zoom.
I did, man, I kind of like and realized that I think I like it better than you know, in real life, man, because they opened up this one place, and I was like, all right, I'll start doing the in real life thing again, and we get there, and there's like 4 of us, and everyone's like 8 feet apart from each other, got masks on, you know. And clearly, you know, what it really turned into is like it's a 12-step call for one guy who had refused to go to Zoom meetings for the last 3 months on principle. So he was chairing the meeting, and dude, he was yelling. Like, he always has been a guy. He's not one of those guys who's like super angry, but he doesn't have that sense of how loud he is. So he had the mask on, and we're 8 feet apart. So he thought he was just like shouting to the upper deck, man. Like, he was just, and I was just on the eggshells the whole time, and like what he was saying was totally legit, and he was just a basic typical share, and but it was, you just want to be like, can you like turn it down, dude, a little. I mean, I like what you're saying, but the volume, man.
Yeah. It's like those guys who ride by with fucking motorcycles that you can hear from like 20 blocks away.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yo, I don't hate motorcycles. I just hate that motorcycle. You know what I mean? And I hate you because you're on that motorcycle. That shit, that shit fucking really pisses me off. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm sure as anyone who's alive with a conscious has been plugged in. Yeah. And everyone's like, seems like everybody's either on this side or that side. And it's just like, man, I kind of don't want to talk about it, not because I don't want to talk about it, because this is all I think about it, because I don't want to be hacky with it. You know what I mean?
Same, dude. I'm the same.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just like, how many analogies could we make? It was like, yo, they just don't get it. They just don't get it.
Well, here, if you don't mind me saying, I want to express this as just like my own nervousness or like fear about it, is that when I reach out to people that are people of color, I don't want you to be the spokesman for black people. Like I'm reaching out because I want to hear other voices that aren't my typical crowd. But there is this sense, and I've had to really try to thicken up my skin a little bit, because I've been reaching out to people, and it's like, oh yeah, a lot of people are like, no, dude, I don't want to get into this with you. Like, right. And I'm like, is like, that's okay. Yeah, like, it's like, oh yeah, dude, I wouldn't want to go into my trauma with someone I don't know. Or here's the one I'm starting to realize. It's like, well, I don't know if I trust you enough for you to be able to hear my anger, because I'm angry.
Yo, that's a great way to put it, dude. That's a great way to put it. Because, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been writing about it, where it's really hard for anger and patience to exist in the same space. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, how could you see what's happening in the world right now to black and brown bodies and not be angry, especially just in general, but especially if you're black? Because when you see these images and these videos, you see the people that you know. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not only do you see the person who's being victimized and murdered or arrested, you're seeing like the people that you know and that you love. And then on top of that, you have the All Lives Matter people, right, who are just trolling, being combative, have no historical reference of liberation movements or how oppression affects a group of people. For them, it's always, why don't you pull yourself up by the bootstraps like they did it or they did it? And it was like...
That thing in spirit seems like it's someone trying to say the right thing, but right now it's someone saying the absolute wrong, or not the wrong thing. It's just that you're fucked up a little bit, I think.
It's just the timing, bro. And even more than the timing, it's the spirit behind it, because like when black people hear people say all lives matter, we hear nigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not even nigga. We hear with the hard ER. We hear nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like, yo, that's like, like you white people you guys are fucking clever, man. You found out how to say nigga without saying nigga. It's like, you're geniuses. Yeah, it's, I used to spend so much time going back and forth with them with the hopes that I would be able to like plant a seed. Not one. They don't like seeds. You know what I mean? They don't like seeds. They don't like rain. They don't like harvesting. Like it's a fucking famine with these people. And I had to get these people out of my news feed, dude, because it would do something to me. But then you have these people who may be all lives matter or like on the fence, and it's because they don't know, which sounds crazy.
Yeah.
It does sound crazy, but it was like, I grew up in Park Slope. I grew up in a white neighborhood, so I know white people very well. Like all black people do.
Right.
Because we just have to. But by me growing up around white people, I got like, I was like a spy, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, and especially where you're at, Park Slope. I mean, that's the Nile for white people.
Right.
Other white people aspire to be white people in Park Slope.
Oh, yeah, dude, absolutely. If I'm being completely honest, how I can relate to these people, because I always think there's a way, man. I always think there's a way where you can see yourself in someone else, even if you don't like who that person is. And I'll even go and say is a lot of times, if you don't like someone, a lot of times it may be because you see some of the same characteristics in them that you have that you don't like about you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I grew up, I was homophobic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. I grew up in Central Illinois, so.
Yeah, so like how could you? I grew up listening to hip hop.
Yeah. Right.
Hip hop.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't have a father around, and just, culturally, and it wasn't until I got exposed to like new voices and people started planting seeds. And then I had the willingness to listen and not fucking express my all lives matter opinion on them.
Yep.
So I could take in new information. So there are those people who are willing, and those are the people that I'll talk to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like I'll be patient with them. With the all lives matter people, it's just anger, and I just don't want to walk around with more anger with someone who I can have a discourse with, and once the conversation is done, they get to walk away, go back to their life of not giving a fuck about black people, and then I'm angry.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just
no, go.
I'm thinking a lot about it, and I think it's a lot of shame and guilt too. It's like if you're going to meet up with someone, I don't know, like if I met an ex or something that I wasn't a great person. I'm working on it. I'm not like perfect now or anything, but I mean, like if I knew I wrong, like let's say it's someone I knew I cheated on, and she didn't know, and I went up to talk to her, like I'd be carrying some shit in my heart, that's like
right, and
I'd keep trying to find ways to not like her because I feel guilty because I've hurt her,
right,
and there's shame, and
dude,
yeah,
right, dude, that's the perfect example. Because, man, I've never met someone who is openly racist, openly sexist, not just openly, but like not only did they wear that shit on their heart, they wore that shit on their body, on their clothing. You know what I mean? Like they have a fucking tag that says, I hate gays. I hate, like that's what it feels like when you're around that energy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never met someone like that who didn't hate themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that lets me know that this anger and this rage is everyone pointing at the devil outside.
Yeah.
Outside of themselves. And that's why, man, it sucks because I have a lot. I'm super sensitive, and I used to hide that and numb it just because it, you know, armor. But I used to hide it and numb it. But when I'm sober and I'm working on myself, it's easier for me to take on someone else's energy and like feel their pain, especially if I can understand where it's coming from, you know?
Yeah.
It's such a weird feeling to feel empathy for someone that you know hates you, but you know that they hate you because they hate themselves.
Well, yeah, that's next level if you can get to that point. Because I mean, I have trouble getting to that point of empathy. That's next level, man. If you can get to that point of empathy for someone.
Yeah. So what's your experience with empathy?
I was just thinking about it. I mean, I don't know. It's not my go-to, man. I don't go to empathy because I also am not experiencing racism. You know, I'm a white guy I'm in Lakewood, Colorado right now, which now I'm actually realizing is like the silence of it is creepy because you're like, oh yeah, this is I'm in the epicenter. This is the problem. Like nobody's, you know, it's like a quiet dude. It's like the sleeper Trump country, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what this is. It's like there was one lady out. She was protesting. She was on the corner, or she just had a sign that said Black Lives Matter. And I drive by. I'm like, give her the thumbs up, and she kind of rolled her.
Give her a thumbs up.
I was like, she like rolled her eyes a little bit.
Be safe.
right, and I was like, well, fuck her. I gave her the thumbs up, man. And then, but she was like, she wanted like, why aren't you helping me? Motherfucker, like, why aren't you, if you think that, like, why aren't you out here on this corner?
Right. You see, I laugh at that shit, but I laugh because, you know, any black person who listens to this is going to be like, why didn't he edit that shit out?
Yeah. Because of the thumbs up.
Yeah, because it's like one of those, you know, our like through liberation movements, it's always felt like liberals were in this. They were in this, they donated, and then they disappeared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like, but for us, it's like, we can't disappear.
Yeah.
We're always at the center of the target. So, you know, and that's where a lot of the anger comes from, where I know a lot of white people don't understand this, but a lot of the anger comes from black people who are seeing white people show up and they're like, this is your first protest. You want me to thank you? It's because, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want, a fucking kombucha? Like, I'm not. And we're going to start giving you guys thumbs up. Like, yeah. You know, it's funny, like, in my cynical mind, in my cynical comic mind, yo, I have a friend, and she had these face masks that to help if the cops throw tear gas at you, right?
Yeah.
And so we were handing them out at the protest, man, and there's fucking the protests that I've been to, it's mainly white people, and I appreciate them being there. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to take it day by day, and just like every other black person I know, we are worried or concerned, or some of us aren't. They just expect that you guys are just not going to show up after a while. But as I was like handing out these face masks to white people, and not only that, I definitely was, I don't know if the word is prejudice, but since there were so many white people at the protest, I was going out of my way to like make sure that black people got them first.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, yo, fam, like, there was like black people who didn't want them. I was like, yo, you sure? You sure you don't want this, bro? Like, give it to somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll you know, because I was talking to my friend the other day, black dude, comic, real funny, Ibrahim, is his name. But yeah, I was talking to him, and he was, you know, we were going back and forth, and we were talking about the same thing, and we were talking about. He brought up a good point. He was like, yo, man. He was like, yo, look at the '60s, and he was like, yo, look at all those people who were about peace and love, and like being together. And there was a lot of liberals who were down with like the civil rights movement, and then they kind of, you know, it kind of ruined the movement to a degree.
Yeah.
Not to a degree. It helped in sabotaging the movement. I'm gonna just, a spade is a spade. It helped in sabotaging the movement, and because we started taking donations from you guys, and then you guys kind of like abandoned us.
Yeah. And
that's like generational fear, man. Yeah. You know, like what I see playing out on the world stage right now is everyone's generational fears are rising to the surface. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. And nobody's leaving their trauma at home or offline. Like, it's just all coming out, which I think it's a good thing, because I remember when Obama was elected, people were saying shit like racism is over. And I was just like, really? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. You think racism is over? And in my opinion, man, Trump is the exact. Trump is the conclusion of 8 years of a black president.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm dumbfounded, man. The only way I honestly be able to understand the guy is that it's like an alcoholic family. Like he's not an active alcoholic, but he's something. He's some kind of addict or he's got some kind of mental illness. And the way people rally around him is the same way people in a family that's dysfunctional, like, rally around. Like, it's like that, well, what did dad, like, look at what dad did last night. Well, why are you always after dad? Or, like, how come you never see the good in dad? You know, he's not always like this. Or, like, you know, he's a good person, but, you know, sometimes he says some things he shouldn't. It's like that same dynamic that happens when a family's, you know? That's the only way I can understand it, because the man is, I can't do that. So I can't even talk about him without, like, I have to check myself and go, Andy, where do you want to go with this? Because I get so...
Dude, he is a gaslighter. I'm not surprised that we got here at all. But what surprises me is that he still has a lot of support.
Yeah.
Even though, because this motherfucker, dog, he doesn't care about anyone but himself and his personal interest. And it's so obvious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he has a lot of murders under his belt for mishandling this pandemic, and people hate the left so much. I don't even think that people love Trump as much, man. I just think that the gap between the left and the right is so wide, and there's no empathy and there's no listening to each other. So we don't really have a lot of points that we can agree on to work towards.
Yeah.
And also the thing about Trump is I feel like he makes the people who feel like they haven't been seen, he makes them feel like he sees them.
Exactly. Yeah. You matter. I see you. Yeah.
He's like, and it's so funny, dude, because what I love this, man. One of my favorite things, you ever see the movie Avatar?
Yeah, it's been a minute. But...
Right. Yeah, I love that movie. And one of my favorite things about that movie is the avatars, they didn't say I love you. They said I see you.
Yeah.
which is like, to me, it's way more intimate, right? It's like saying, I see you. It was like, I see you for who you are and what you are and why you are. And when you, like, if I was to say, Andy, I love you, man, I could also be like, yo, Andy, I love playing Xbox for 18 hours a day. You know what I mean? So I use the same word to describe both things.
Right.
So it's not as specific.
Yeah.
So when I hear people been saying like, I see you, man, it really hits.
See you, yeah.
It really hits. And I love that, man. I do. Do you have a lot of hope for the future?
Oh, man.
Like, where are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have to, dude. Well, I have to have hope for, like, right now. I think the future even is, like, a luxury. Like, I think what I have to, as someone who's in recovery, I have to find, like, ways to be present and get out of my resentment in the present.
Right.
It's hard. That's a major job, you know, in recoveries, to get out of your resentments. So, I mean, I often think hope is like a present tense. People often talk about hope as like it's this future thing. I really think, you know, if you do experience hope, it's you're feeling it in the present about the future. So
right.
So yeah, I feel hopeful.
I love that.
I mean, conversations like this make me feel hopeful. Things like seeing in my family even a little bit, who are pretty evangelical, conservative people, who are finally they see Trump as like, this guy's evil. I mean, that makes me hopeful. You know, and they've been onto him a while now, but it's like now that thing of like, oh, this guy's holding up a Bible, like, Jesus, like, that's absurd.
Yeah,
you know,
dude, yeah.
So that gives me a little bit of hope. It's a great question, man. I mean, I almost feel like it's a luxury, but I feel like it's a good one. But I think, yeah, I do. I think mostly, man, I feel my heart breaks. Like, that's what I see. My thing isn't, I don't go to rage first. I go to heartbreak, because I'm like, how the fuck can you see this stuff happening, like violence? You see a guy just get strangled to death in front of everybody, and then be like, he's just crying. You know, this is what they all do. They all just cry about, like, you know, slavery, and they all act like, you know, we're the ones keeping them down. Like, they're not working. You know, they're just trying to live off the system. You know, I'm trying to work too, and I don't get a handout. You know, it's like that kind of language. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see that is your response. Like, that's just,
yeah. And it's, dude, but it was like, do you understand? Do you feel like you understand how someone can get there? I feel like since you and I...
Sure, you don't know people. I do, because I've been there, dude. I have been there. Like,
right.
I used to do a bit. I haven't really talked about this a lot, but when I was in New York, I used to try to do this bit about this neighbor I had named Claude. I grew up in Normal, Illinois. Literally, the name of the town was Normal, Illinois. I had this neighbor named Claude, and he would always he's a black dude. He'd try to borrow my bike all the time. He'd always be like, dude, can I borrow your bike? And I'd be like, and I'd want Claude to like me.
I know that dude.
Yeah, right. We all know
that guy.
And then it'd be like, he'd want to borrow a pair of channel locks, or he'd want to borrow some pliers. And I'd be like, I wanted Claude to be my friend. You know, I liked him. He was exotic to me, you know. And there's always a part of you too. There's always I don't know. There's always that part of you, like, you're proud to have a black friend. You know, there's always that token thing that's going on. If they're exotic, you know, if where you grew up, there aren't many black people. Anyway, but I used to do this bit about how I didn't know a lot of black people, so whenever I'd start making friends with a black guy, I'd always be like, yeah, but deep down, like, does he just want to borrow my bike? You know?
Dude, that's really funny.
Right,
that's
but
really
it never I could never get it to sell. I don't think I was, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't ready, but it's...
Dude, that's funny, dude. That's funny. And I don't know. I didn't hear the whole bit, but
you're laughing because
also,
here's the thing though, dude. You're laughing because you're black. White people are like, no, dude.
No, I'm laughing.
Laugh at that.
I'm laughing because I'm exotic and I want to hang out with you so I can get your bike. By the way, and also because, you know, I've been that dude and I know dudes like that, you know, like that person exists. And, you know, a lot of times when I have jokes that don't work for some reason and I believe in it, it's not that it's for me that it's not funny. It's just I haven't found out that one ingredient that makes it spicy, that makes it like more enjoyable, so everyone can digest it.
Yeah,
you know, and that's like where the alchemy comes in, because that's not something that. Sorry, I was just thinking about. I'm really grateful to be having this conversation, man, because I love.
No, me too.
Being able to have honest conversations. And that's why when Olive was like, yo, dude, you'll enjoy talking to him, I was like, all right, I'll do it. Tell him I'll do it. I love being able to speak to people where we could have honest conversations. And the alchemy is like, for me, is like taking something that is complex, that is based off some sort of truth, and trying to break it down to the bare minimum, but not to the point where it's like it's bland. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just like the right amount of spices, so people won't be turned off by it, and they'll also be able to digest it. But then also not. I don't want to like strip it down to the point where I feel like I held myself back, which is a really hard thing to do. You're trying to balance so many things in just one joke. And especially because you seem like the type of person who talks about shit like a black dude. You're wondering if a black dude wants to hang out with you because he wants to borrow your bike, you know? And that dude, that outside of that context, the concept is basically just like someone who's trying to get something out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like you can't really trust. And it was like, that's what, gold diggers, right? Yeah. That's what they say gold diggers are for. It was like, so the spirit of that joke is universal. And it's just, I don't know, maybe like white people get weird when other white people talk about black people. And,
yeah. Well, I think,
you know what I mean?
And I don't think I'd found the meat of it, which is the part where there's the real feeling. And I think a lot of the feeling in that bit is about making friends with men. 'Cause it's you know, it's tricky. Like, I find it's hard to make friends with comics. I've been like a one-on-one. Like I became pretty good friends with Alep. He was one of my first good comic friends in New York. But like a group of comics has always been tricky, especially male comics. But same, yo. So maybe that's part of, well, because I don't drink anymore either. So that's the business, is like bonding, like doing coke or drinking together or whatever, or smoking weed, which I never understood how weed was not a performance drug for me ever.
Oh, at all, dude. My brain shuts off.
When I just sit here asking you if you can see my cheeks, like I'm like, are my cheeks sticking out like for an hour? I squeeze my cheeks. So
yeah, because I don't know. For me, the process of what I appreciate about the comics that I truly love is like there's a zen to them when they're performing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where they're just taking everything as it comes. Like moment by moment, you know, like I remember, like Chappelle does this all the time, and he's able to do this because the motherfucker will go on stage for 8 hours and just practice being present on stage, you know.
Yeah.
And you'll hear him say shit like, "Oh, I don't have any material," which I feel like is half true, but he also like allows himself and people allow him because he's such like a captivating person to listen to. He allows himself to like sit in the silence and to figure shit out on stage.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to do when you could keep an audience in their seat for 8 hours. You know, listening to you fucking just watching you do layups for 8 hours. I
saw him one time. I was in Salt Lake City. It was one of those like last minute. I've lived a lot of life, dude. I've lived in a few places, but he was a last minute show. He sold out this huge theater, you know, like with 3 days notice, you know, and he had this quality of getting on stage where the audience, you could tell if they didn't behave right, he was gonna leave. Like it was more like the audience was on the eggshells for like, we better be good or he's gonna leave. He had, I've never seen it before. Like he had, like I think it was also because it was when he was doing bits, like he had walked off a stage or something in Connecticut because people were just shouting bits to do or something from Chappelle's show. And he had like just proven that like he'll walk off stage if he doesn't like you.
Oh, dude, that's so funny. I forgot about that. I forgot that people used to fucking heckle Chappelle.
Yeah.
With bits from the Chappelle show, and that doesn't happen anymore. At least from when I've seen him, because yeah, man, that's one thing I love about Chappelle is that, and I feel like you, like you're you know, this is my first time speaking to you, but I know like me and Olive share the same sentiment where like our integrity means a lot to us. And from my experience, from like just business in general, but from my experience, direct experience, specific experience with comedy, it feels like people are more, man, just like people will sell their soul to get an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think I would. I think about it all the time. Like, I'm like, Andy, you're totally selling out right now to be friends with a person. And
yeah, but dude, you know what it is then? Oh, so this is, here it goes, dude. It's like, yo, because I feel the same way about the comedy community or just hanging out with certain comics, right? Because I feel like everyone has that, the dude who wants to hang out with me because he wants my bike, or not my bike, but a bike.
Right. Or I know this guy who's got that bike and he wants to, yeah.
Where it's like, yo, if you want my bike, just be better at hiding it. Because if I feel like that's your intentions, it was like, I just like who I am as a person. It was like, I can't bond with you or trust you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd rather you just be like, yo, can I borrow your bike? And I'd be like, yes or no. You know what I mean? Depending on my relationship with you, or if I have to fucking ride my bike to fucking Williamsburg that day. But just ask.
Well, dude, here's the thing: is the one that got me is when he asked. He wanted it for 2 weeks one time, and I was like, he said, I want to borrow can I borrow your bike for 2 weeks? And as a kid, I was like, what? No, man, that's over the line. Like, this is like 2 weeks. I'd never come across any kind of, I mean, in retrospect, I'm like, this is a guy who, I'll be honest, he wanted to steal my bike. And he was doing the right thing by asking if he could borrow it for 2 weeks.
You know what you should do now? Especially now, you should call him. You should find him. I don't know if you're still friends with him, and buy him a bike. You should buy him a bike to eat so he can get to the protest on time.
But it's also like, no, it's so much nicer. Like someone else's bike seems so much better sometimes if you can borrow it or something. Yeah. That's so true.
So true. It's like, because it's like whenever I go out to eat, right, and I'm a creature of habit, man.
Yeah, me too.
And it's not because I'm a creature of habit. It's just because I have a lot of fear around failure, rejection, just like everyone else. But, sometimes 90% of the time when I go out to eat, if it's at a restaurant that I've been to, there's maybe they can have 20 things on the menu, and I will order maybe 2 different options.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then, but when I'll go with a friend to this restaurant, they'll order something, and then I'll try it, and I'll be like, oh, this shit is good. And then I'll have another option. But I just didn't want to spend my money to, you know what I mean? Because that feeling of spending your money on something that doesn't taste good, that you don't enjoy. It feels terrible.
Yeah.
Because then you don't want to eat it. You're going to be mad while you're eating whatever the fuck you ordered. And then you're going to be like, see, this is why I don't try things.
This is why I don't try things. And I could have been eating the other thing right now. And now everyone else is good at adventure. And why do I suck at adventure? Right. Why can't I just try new things?
So there's this restaurant in my neighborhood called Blue Ribbon. Pricey, it's good. My boy worked there. We were close, and sometimes whenever I walk by, if I'd see him in the window, I'd walk in. And one time I walked in, and he was like, "Yo, what's up, man?" We started kicking it. He was like, "Yo, you hungry?" I was like, "Nah, not really." He was like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. And then he was like, "Yo, well, you gotta try oysters." He was like, "Yo, you gotta try these oysters." I was like, "Nah, I don't really like oysters." And he was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "Because I don't like the consistency." And he was like, "Have you ever tried them?" I was like, "Nah, I just don't like mushy shit." You know what I mean? And then he was like, "Dude, you gotta try them." And then he's one of those people who will not let you try something. Like, I should have just told him that I tried it and that I wasn't hungry, because then I wouldn't have tried it, right? I would have got my way. This dude went out of his fucking way, and he brought out this whole it was a beautiful setup, man. It was like a tower with different shelves on all different sides of fucking these oysters.
Yeah.
And then I tried it, dude, and it was fucking delicious. It was amazing. And that was, that was one of those moments for me. It was like, wow, it was like one of my old ways of thinking, because maybe I tried something that was like, I thought was mushy at one time, and I was just like, fuck anything mushy forever.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like how racist people are. Like, they meet one black person who's like fucking wanted to borrow their bike or something. They're like, fuck all black people. They steal bikes. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I was with fucking oysters. And then it was delicious. And here's the thing that I always think about, dog. This shit was like maybe 5 years ago. Dog, I haven't had oysters since.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, oh, this is something I like. I'm never going to try it again.
Exactly.
It's like, because I'm just like such a creature of habit, dude. And it's just like, so these are the things that I'm trying to like, these old ways of thinking and moving through the world that I'm trying to like change, accept, and then like work towards not allowing them to be in the driver's seat, because it's like, you live a really isolated life that way.
Speaking of oysters, like, this has been great, and now we'll probably never talk again for 7 years. Like this,
dude. Yeah, nah, man. I'm saving your number. Cause, dude, here's the thing about the thing about like when you find your tribe, like other people in your tribe also know like other people who are like that. They hang out with other people who are like that, or they're more drawn to them. So when Olive told me that, I was just like, all right, man, I trust you.
Yeah.
So I knew this was going to be a good conversation.
Yeah. Well, I did it. And I thought I had a lot of pressure. Well, mostly because I was feeling like, I've never said this at all, but I was feeling like, all right, he's letting me in to his friend. Like, he's connecting me here. I better not fuck it up and make him look bad. Like, I was feeling some of that. But I also didn't know. He said you were on a journey. He didn't say you were sober. He just said
on a journey.
He said you were on a something like that. He said sober journey or something like that. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what that means.
Yo, dude, thank you so much for having me on this podcast, man. I rarely do podcasts, but this was a good one. I feel like I got something out of it, and I don't feel like I overshared. You know, I just hope in like 10 years from now, I won't be worried about like that I changed so much, or I'm like, I hope people don't listen to that podcast. Or I was happy about white people getting beat up by cops. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, you never said that. Were they getting beat up?
No,
and you're happy about it?
No,
that's okay.
No, I wasn't happy about it. I was happy about it the same way you were happy once you stopped talking to your black friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's the same spirit.
You know how you're talking to somebody and you're like, part of you in your head, maybe you're not like this, but I'll morph myself into what I think they want me to be a lot of times. And then,
dude.
And I'm like, Andy, who are you right now? Like what?
Yeah. I mean, any dude who's trying to get laid does that, you know, to like a certain degree.
You're right.
And women do that. Women do that shit too, dog. Women do, like when women are laughing at all your jokes. You know what I mean? Or it's like, am I funny? Or like, is she, like, you know what I mean? Like, does she want something? Like, you know what I mean? It's just that feeling where you got a question. And maybe that's just my paranoia. I do have a level of paranoia. And I know the way I see things isn't always accurate. I could be very delusional at times. But my paranoia will always resurface to be like, she doesn't think you're funny, even though she's like laughing at all my jokes, you know?
Man, that never even occurs to me. Like, I'm so happy. I just believe them that they're laughing at me for whatever reason, but you're right. I never even think about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes from me. It was like, I didn't get a lot of attention from girls when I was younger. And then something happened when I was like 18 where like the energy shifted. And then all of a sudden, like people wanted to hang out with me and I was funny, but I still had that hurt and the pain from like not being seen, you know, and like I still carry that shit with me till today. And it's like, you know, with pain like that, man, it's dangerous because you could weaponize it and hurt other people.
Yeah.
With that, you know, so.
Well, dude, I get to to this day, if we were girls interested in me, there's always this junior high kid in me who's going, I can't believe she. Like, I feel so honored. Like, I know I've learned I can't say half the shit I'm thinking, which is like, you know, I know you're not supposed to say during sex, like, thank you, but like, that's what I want. There's a part of me just going, thank you so much, thank you. But you can't do that.
Dude, that's really funny and totally relatable because, dude, there's been times where I've had girls going down on me, and still my fucking like 14-year-old self is like, she doesn't like you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, my penis is in her mouth, and my voice is like, she hates you, dude. She's going down on you because she hates you and she never wants to see you again. And then my crazy brain will make sense of that.
Oh, she's doing, you know? Well, I always think like, well, good for her. She's really taking one for the team here because. It's hard to be in your head. You know, that's what meditation should be like. You should be in the kind of place where you can receive a blowjob. Because I get so in my head about it. Like, I'm a bad blowjob recipient. Like, I can't. And then I talk myself out. Because, I mean, I just, like, beat the shit out of my dick growing up with, like, the thing's covered in leather, man. I mean, so, like, it takes...
You sure got a saddle on it?
It takes me a long time. And I always feel guilty and, like... But, oh, dude, that's a whole other... Well, man, we'll talk again, I think. I think we should...
Yeah,
I hope...
yeah,
actually,
dude.
What I really hope is that we could do one... When I get out there, we'll do one in real life, because that'll be fun.
Dude, yeah, I love that, man. We go to fucking Prospect Park, dog.
Yeah.
Kick it, man. But, yo, let's definitely keep in touch, man.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you giving me this space to share with you so I could talk my shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I just want to say rest in peace to George Floyd. Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor. Rest in peace to Ahmaud Arbery. I think I pronounced it right. And Trayvon Martin and all the other black people. That sounds really insensitive, but there's so many names, and you may cut this out, and that's fine too. But yo, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You know, black people, before we leave, we always gotta give shout outs. So that was my one shout out.
I know. I'm like, do I have a?
You got any shout
my
outs?
shout out was gonna be like, here's all the black people going jogging after dark. That was gonna be mine.
You gotta edit that out, son. You gotta edit that out, son.
That was my. I want people to be safe. Is that
my blackness is telling me to hang up on you right now.
Okay. See, I always got to do that. I always got to say something I know I shouldn't say. Yeah, dude. I'll give a shout out to people. I don't know.
People of color. You say people of color who ride bicycles, man. That's it. You're good.
All right.
It's good, is it? Yo, but man, I appreciate you, dog, and let's keep in touch. Cool?
Yeah, dude, definitely. And I appreciate you doing this because I just felt like the premise was like, will you let me talk to you because you're black? You know, I know that is kind of the part.
Because you know those people who call you and ask how you're doing just so they can get to them. I rarely pick up my phone for those people, yo. And what I've come to the terms is it's not so much as their fault if I never confronted them and told them I had an issue with them feeling like they're just calling me as a soundboard. You know, so it's like I gotta be willing to have boundaries and let people know what my boundaries are. And if people don't respect my boundaries, then they're not my friends.
Yeah. But the talking too much one is a hard one to even know is a boundary. I don't even know that a lot of times. It just starts to feel more and more like I get pissed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this podcast is good practice for you though, right? Because you said it was like, yo, you talk about whatever you want. Like, if more people were to call people and be like, yo, what do you want to talk about? Like the world there'd be a lot less anger in the world. If people just like, yo, what do you want to talk about? Nobody does that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're just like,
true.
They're just like, yo, how are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm all right. Be like, yo, you know what happened yesterday? It's like, dude.
I feel guilty now. See, now I'm at my white guilt. I'm asking for you to make my white guilt go away, but I'm not. But like the thing about jogging, a shout out to all the black people jogging after dark. It was the tone that I said it. It was like there's like a cavalierness to it that I feel bad about. That's what this is. All the times I say shit, it's not the crossing the line. It's the like when people can hear where your heart's at when you say something, and you're like,
well, dude,
and that's the thing. It's like say whatever you want, but you better be fucking like people hear where your heart's at, man. When you say shit, like.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, for instance, right, there was my friend, he wanted me to be in his web series, and I was having I was going through, like, one of those really dark moments. I wasn't picking up my phone, wasn't talking to people. I was going to work, coming home, smoking weed, and playing video games for, like, months. And he kept on reaching out to me, calling me. I think he even, like, showed up to my crib, didn't answer the doorbell. I was just running. You know, it was one of those things where it's like only divine intervention could have pulled me out, which it did, and I'm grateful for. So the only way that he was able to contact, because I wasn't even reading text messages either.
Yeah.
He wrote me a letter, and in the letter, he kept it 100 with me. You know what 100 means, right? Like he just. I don't know, man. Am I being insensitive to white people now?
No, I'm laughing because one, No, I didn't know what it mean, but I kind of got the spirit of it, and then I'm laughing because you stopped and wondered, because I think that just made me laugh.
Oh, dude, I told you, I know white people, man.
Yeah.
I know my whites. So he sent me this letter, and in the letter, he told me, he was like, yo, I'm working on this project that I really care about, and I know that you're going through a really hard time, and I feel kind of selfish for asking you to show up for me while you're doing this. And the fact that he said that, I showed up for him.
Yeah.
But if he didn't say that, and this is I consider him my little brother, and I love this dude. If he didn't say that, I wouldn't have showed up, because everything would have read like the dude who was trying to borrow my bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he asked. So it's just like, and a lot of times comics, man, we're so used to like having the pressure, like trying to be funny. So sometimes that we're willing to sacrifice like being human and present with someone. And that's why, like, when I hang out with Alip, it's like, dude, we're not trying to impress each other or make each other laugh. If it happens, fine. We just have like conversations and we listen to each other. And sometimes we disagree and we talk it out, and it's all like built off the foundation of like love and respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like when a lot of times white people say shit that is insensitive to black people, it's because I don't think your spirit, to me, it was just the timing.
It's just
like, read the room. You know what I mean?
Funny. Didn't read the room. Yeah.
You know, dude, it may be funny in like 4 years from now.
Yeah.
Or like whenever people are like not, you know, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's one of those things where there's a cultural, like, we're all human. We all come from the same place, but there's like, there's these cultural and traditional and religious boundaries that we need to like all respect and like become more familiar with if we ever want to be able to like not allow ourselves to be where we're at now again.
Man, when you said that, I was like, I wonder if in 4 years people will be like, black people will be running, seriously, like legitimately, like, will things be any different where black people feel safe to run after dark, you know, or
right
women,
right.
I mean, a lot of women I know, I mean, obviously don't feel safe, but I mean, 4 years is really not that long, and
yeah, it's not, man, it's not, and you know, dude, this shit is gonna stick around for a gen or at least 2 generations.
I hope so. I kind of hope so. Like, I kind of hope people fucking, like, America just, we have these things where we pass a law because shit got bad, and then we forget about it. And then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I did that with the oysters. You know, and like, I do that with like, it's like I did that shit with the oysters. So in that way, I am a white liberal. I'm a white liberal to oysters. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I feel you. You want me to eat you? I'll eat you once. But after this, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah, man. Also, I just want to give a shout out to all your white listeners. If you're one of those people that I described earlier on the podcast that want to help out and understand, I have a friend who started a website, and she's not even American, she's Australian, but she's lived here for a long time, and she knows, she's very familiar with black people and our struggles. She's worked with the Justice League, Harry Belafonte, organized protests all across the country. And I say all this to say that she started a website or a movement, and it's called The White Shift. It's at The White Shift. She's giving out information to white people who want to help out and may not know how. So if you're interested and you want to help out, I appreciate you. If not, all lives matter. Peace.
All right, buddy. Go out and go get some oysters, man. It's time.
All right, man. All right. Yo,
See ya.
Appreciate you, dog. Have a good one.
You too, Drew. That's the show. Thank you so much, Drew. And I hope to see you in real life soon, and we can go have mixed feelings about seafood together somewhere. So again, please follow Drew on IG and Twitter. It's at Drew Dowdey. That's DREWDOWDEY. And again, you can find his writing on the link in his IG bio. It's a piece for Medium. It's pretty great, so go check that. Hey, look, thank you for your support. Thanks for the Patreon support. Patreon.com/Wandering the Isles. WanderingTheIsles.com. And at Wandering Isles all over the internet. You're gonna find the show on Instagram, Twitter, and I think that's all the at Wandering Isles, actually. There's only 2 at places, isn't there? There's a bunch more. Never mind. See you soon. I'm definitely back Wednesday with a regular episode. But as soon as I finish up this conversation with this guy, Pastor James Dollins, hell, I should put it out on Sunday morning. That'll be our church. All right, it's coming Sunday morning. Sunday morning, tune in to church, the first at Wandering Isles church service. See you at church. Man, is that going to be my new sign off? See you at church. It is if there's girls there. All right, then.